All right, Shalom. It's your brother Kasha Kwala coming back at you with another lesson, giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Dash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone who rule and teach well. Peace, love, salutation to the elect 144 first fruit. Today's lesson is going to go into pretty much Micah 2 and 4. Pretty much pertaining, what I want to focus on is, in that day shall one take up a parable against you. All right. So I'm going to start at Micah 2 and 3, but I want to get into this because I want to bring out a parable that was actually, a parable that was actually written to this specific prophecy that Micah was talking about. Because when you read the book of Micah, I know we usually use Micah, especially like 2 and 1, for example, to describe these Edomites and what they do, on a daily basis, really. But really, when you read the book of Micah, he is rebuking Israel. He's talking to Israelites. Okay? Micah took place back in 740-ish BC, about 740 to like 708 BC. So this is during the time of King Hezekiah. All right. He also was during the time of Isaiah, which I think I mentioned in my last video. Plenty of, when you look it up, historians or whatnot, they say, I don't know how true it is, but I believe it. They say that Micah actually saw Isaiah prophesying, because they were doing around the same time. Now, who was after Micah and Isaiah? Another, what they call major prophet, because they will call Micah one of the 12, what you could say, smaller or minor prophets. You got the Micahs, the Obadiah, Amos, the Jonahs, those small books, Joel's, those small prophetic books, or short prophetic books. He's one of those, but ain't no prophet minor. They all had a big part in what they were prophesying and talking about. Like Obadiah is one of the shortest books, but it's one of the most heaviest books too. All right. Same, it goes along with a lot of the other quote unquote minor prophets, and they consider him a minor, prophet, or, having a shorter book. But hey, they also compare his, not compare, but they say it's the way his tone is like Isaiah. So this is Micah 2 and 3. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily. For this time is evil, right? So he's saying, again, therefore, thus saith the Lord. This is coming from the words of the Lord. Behold, against this family do I devise evil. Now, what family? The house of Israel. Okay? Israel. Because during this time, this is the precursor, if that's the right word to use, to when the Babylonians actually came and pretty much took over Israel and burned it. It was the first burning of, pretty much to take over Israel. Matter of fact, I'm just going to get it real quick in 2 Chronicles 36. I'm going to start at 15. 2 Chronicles 36 and 15, and I'm just going to read. I'm going to read pretty swiftly. It says, "And the Lord power of the Father sent to them by his messengers, rising up betimes and sending, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place. But they mocked the messengers of the Most High and despised his word and misused his prophets, until the wrath of the Lord arose against his people, till there was no remedy. Therefore he brought upon them the king of the Chaldees, who at this time was Nebuchadnezzar. Of course, when you go into Nebuchadnezzar, he wasn't really a Babylonian, he was an Assyrian. All right. But still, he was the ruler of the Chaldees at the moment, and that's who came against him. It says, who slew their young men with the sword in the house of their sanctuary, and had no compassion upon young men or maiden, old man, or him that stooped for age. He gave them all into his hand. So the Lord allowed this to happen because this was a prophecy that was spoken about in Second Chronicles, the 34th chapter. Also, is the prophecy spoken about here in Micah, because Micah was during the time of Hezekiah. Of course, after Hezekiah came Manasseh. Manasseh came, I think, Amos, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm pronouncing that right. Let me check real quick, just so I'm not speaking loosely. Get my scripts real quick, because I know after Hezekiah was Manasseh, because that's when you read Second Chronicles 33. Yeah, Amon, Salakia. So Amon was next. Then Josiah came, which Josiah was the son of Amon, who started a righteous rule. Then after Josiah was just a reign of wicked kings, okay, who did wrong in the sight of the Lord. Therefore, you know, things had to happen, you see. And one of the things that had to happen was the destruction of Israel. Give me 1 second. All right. Let's see. So going on, it says, verse 18. It says, in all the vessels of the house of the Most High, great and small, and treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king and of his princes, all these he brought to Babylon. And they burnt the house of the Most High, and brake down the wall of Jerusalem, and burnt all the palaces thereof with fire, and destroyed all the goodly vessels thereof. And them that had escaped from the sword carried away to Babylon, where they were servants to him and to his sons until the reign of the king of Persia. All right. Verse 21, to fulfill the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land had enjoined her Sabbaths, for as long as she lay desolate, she kept Sabbath, to fulfill 10 years. Right. So it says there again, to fulfill the prophet of Jeremiah. In verse 21, you can read Jeremiah, the 25th chapter, and it goes into all of this. Okay. I think it talks about you should be laid away captive for 70 years. Matter of fact, let me see if I can grab that real quick, and then get back to the topic at hand in Micah. You see, prophesied about it here. All right, but I'm going to just get straight to the point. I'm start at verse 8. Hold on 1 second. I may start at verse 8, but let me see. Yeah, so this is pretty much, he was prophesying. Verse 8 says, therefore saith the Lord, Jeremiah 25:8, therefore thus saith the Lord of hosts, because ye have not heard my words, behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith the Lord, and Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon, who was spoken about in 2 Chronicles 36, about the king of the Chaldees. It says, my servant, and I will bring them against this land and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about, and I will utterly destroy them, and make them an astonishment and an hissing and a perpetual desolation. Right, exactly. So that was a prophecy that Jeremiah prophesied that came to pass in verse, out of the words of the mouth of Jeremiah. Now, when you read up, we understand that the scripts say that they misused the prophets. All right. rising up B times. They misused his prophets. Now let's go up to where Jeremiah was actually mentioned in this book. All right, in this very chapter. All right. So it says, Second Chronicles 36:11. Zedekiah was was 1 and 20 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, his power, and humbled not himself before Jeremiah the prophet, speaking from the mouth of the Lord, which we just read in Jeremiah 25. So these things had to happen. Okay. So going back to Micah 2:3. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, against his family do I devise an evil. Correct. These, I'm telling you, prophet after prophet after prophet will prophesy about the same things that's about to happen. That's why you have so many prophets today prophesying that this place is going to be destroyed. Okay? You got prophets that come up, prophets that have passed away, but they all have, and I'm talking about in these times. We've had prophets that passed away that have been preaching that America is going to be destroyed. Only they just going to come back and beam they brothers up, man. Okay? But in a sense, we're speaking the same things. Micah is speaking the same thing. This prophecy that Jeremiah spoke to Zedekiah is the same thing Isaiah and Micah were speaking to Hezekiah, to King Josiah. All right, these same things, and they all ended up happening through what? The Babylonians coming to mess things up. All right, because again, I mentioned Micah was during the time of 740 BC to about 708. Babylon, all that didn't start until about like the destruction of Jerusalem hit about like 587, 586 BC. So it was like a good 200 years later, okay, when Micah's words came to pass, when Isaiah's words came to pass, but then the Lord sent in the extra prophet at the final stages, like, yo, you better wake the fuck up. And that's what we're here. That's what's happening now. These are the final prophets. You better wake up, Israel, because something's about to come down the pipeline. And if you're not getting right with the Lord, you are going to be a part of this, and it's not going to be good for you. All right? Jeremiah was the final straw. Okay? He's like, yo, Zedekiah, you better listen. He didn't listen. In turn, guess what happened? You see what I'm saying? So, going on again, Micah 2:3. Therefore, thus saith the Lord. And it's the spirit that we're speaking about, Jeremiah 2. Because that parable against you is something I want to bring up. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily. Haughtily is another word for proudly. All right, for this time is evil. Right, these curses are going to start taking effect on y'all ass because y'all didn't want to listen and hearken to me the first damn time. Okay. At this point, when Micah and Isaiah came, the Lord didn't had enough with Israel. He didn't have enough. All right. Verse 4, Micah 2:4. In that day shall one take up a parable against you, and lament with the doleful lamentation, and say, we be utterly spoiled. We have changed the portion of my people. He hath changed the portion of my people. Who has? The Lord. How hath he removed it from me, turning away? He hath divided our fields. Right. So this parable against you, okay? Which, matter of fact, let me get that word parable in the etymology. Parable. All right, an allegorical or metaphorical narrative, usually having a moral of instruction. Usually having a moral of instruction. Proverbs. Let's go to Proverbs. All right. Matter of fact, let me start at Proverbs 1 and jump down. All right. Proverbs 1:1. The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, to know wisdom and instruction. Well, there you go. A parable is a what? It is a proverb. Okay. A parable is a proverb. Another word for parable is a proverb. All right. To know wisdom and instruction, parable, usually having a moral for instruction. Do you ever see, you watch something and they be like at the end of it, well, the moral of this story was, meaning they're about to break down the parable or the proverb. All right. When Nathan, the prophet, went to King David to give him a parable, and he said, who was that man that, what should happen to that man who took the sheep of the only? And David was like, man, that man should be killed, blah, blah, blah. Nathan was like, well, you were that man. That was the moral of the story, or the proverb, or the parable. Okay? So going on, it says, to wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, and judgment and equity, to give subtlety to the simple, to the young man, knowledge and discretion. Right? So to know the wisdom and the instruction, perceive the words and the understanding and the instruction of wisdom, the justice, the judgment, the equity, the knowledge and discretion and the subtlety to the simple, a wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsel. Right? To get all of these, you have to be one to hear to increase your learning, and you got a colon right there, which means an explanation. So again, a wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsel to understand a proverb. You see? You will listen, you will increase your learning, and you will get the understanding to understand a proverb. Did Zedekiah and these other rulers after Josiah understand this proverb? No, they didn't. Therefore, something had to happen. Okay? Therefore, the Lord brought Jeremiah 25. He brought Nebuchadnezzar down and destroyed Israel. Okay? I'm going to pull out Isaiah, the 5th chapter as well. It says, verse 6, to understand a proverb and in interpretations, the words of the wise and their dark sayings. In order to understand them, you have to hear and listen and increase in your learning to get the understanding. All right? Because a proverb is a parable, which is a dark saying, which there is a moral behind there, which is a moral for instruction. All right? It's a moral for instruction. I know one of the brothers in our camp, Barzal, he loves to break down the word instruction. It means in and structure. You're supposed to structure yourself from within. You ever seen a construction site? They build. That's where you get the word edify from. You got to build yourself from within side. We always use the word education, which means to bring out, meaning something that was already inside of you has finally exposed itself. How do you expose that? How do you educate? By instructing. Okay? Building within inside yourself. That's what Proverbs, the 1st chapter, is telling you. To hear, to listen and increase in the learning, to instruct yourself and build so you can understand these parables. For when a brother says this or when a brother says that, just hear it, meaning shut up and listen. Instruct it, meaning intake it, digest it. And then education will come about. It will start showing forth. Once you fully grasp the understanding and you attain to those wise words, it's going to start coming out. Just like when Moses went up to the Mount Sinai to get the law, statutes, and commandments and get all the information from the foundations of the earth. That's why he came back shining, because he was instructed. And when he came back, it was educated and it was brought out. Therefore, that's why he had to put a veil over him. These are the same things you must do. Okay? So let's go back real quick to Micah, because the parable against you. It says 1, when something is italicized, if I'm saying that right, it means it's something that's specified. There's a specific reason. All right? It's emphasized, you could say. Okay? Well, not you could say. That's exactly what when you see something that's italicized, it's it's emphasized, okay? Meaning in importance. Usually when you see something in an article, and they're speaking about like a book, they'll say the title of the book in the article, but it'll be italicized because it's emphasizing the book, okay? So it says, in that day shall one take up a parable. Now we know Micah was before Jeremiah. And we know after the book of Jeremiah came what? Lamentations. All right. So this was one of the individuals who took up a parable against Israel. All right. And I'm going to go to Lamentations, the 3rd chapter. And I'm going to start at I could start at I could start there, but I'm just gonna hit the point because up here it talks about how Israel had went off. Matter of fact, I'll start at 42. Lamentations 3 and 42. All right. We have transgressed and have rebelled. Thou hast not pardoned. Right. The Lord didn't pardon. When we just read Second Chronicles, the 36th chapter, it talked about how Nebuchadnezzar came in, didn't give a damn if you were old, young, stooped down of age, he didn't give a shit. The Lord gave it all to him in his hands. Burnt down the wall, took down the wall, burnt the church, the temple down. He didn't give a damn. All right, that's the Lord. It's like, I'm done with y'all. I'm sick of y'all. Y'all won't listen. I'm taking it all away. It's like it's like a parent who will be like, and you do your homework? No. Give me the goddamn PS4, man. I don't care. Come on, man. I don't give a damn. Give me your keys too. You ain't going nowhere. I'm tired of you. Don't ask for me. Don't call my name. No nothing. Sit your ass in your room and think about your actions. That's the same thing the Lord did to us. We got rebuked, got our ass beat. We had to sit in timeout. And I know I'm speaking like in such a light terms, but we got things stripped away from us, okay? And he said, don't talk to me until now. We finally have access to the Comforter, man, to the Spirit. We get to pray, and our prayers can be heard. We have the access, but for so long we didn't because we had to take those stripes. You see, man. Verse 43, thou hast covered with anger and persecuted us. Thou hast slain. Thou hast not pitied. Thou hast covered thyself with the cloud, that our prayer should not pass through. Verse 45, thou hast made us as the offscoring and refuse in the midst of the people. All of our enemies have opened their mouth against us. All right. Fear and a snare has come up. Fear and a snare is come up. Salakia. Fear and a snare is come upon us. Desolation and destruction. Right. So it says one shall take Micah 2 and 4, in that day one shall take a parable against you. Right. That's a parable in itself from what I just read. And lament with the doleful lamentation. Correct. With the doleful lamentation. All right. I think the word doleful means the word doleful means bitter. All right. And lamentation, to lament, meaning like to cry, to mourn. Let's keep going. Let's go to verse 48. Lamentations 3 and 48. And this is Jeremiah, man. Mine eye runneth down with rivers of water from the destruction of the daughter of my people. You take some Joe Schmo off the street and read that, it sounds like a poem. Poems are parables. The prophets were very poetic with their writings. Read Songs of Solomon. And it is heavy. Parable? You talking about a parable? Songs of Solomon, man. That's some dark sayings in there, but it's poetic. It's beautiful how it was written. Okay? It's the same thing here. This strikes something within you when you read this very verse that I'm reading. Lamentation 3 and 48. Mine eye runneth down with rivers of water for the destruction of the daughter of my people. That's a parable. Who's the daughter of my people? You got to break this down to people. The scripture you go bring out, oh, boom, Jeremiah, Jeremiah 6, and all these, other different books in the scriptures talking about Israel being the daughter and talking about Zion. You have to break that down to understand who he is lamenting for. Okay. Also, when it says my eye runneth down with rivers of water, he could have just simply said I'm crying. But no, it is a parabolic type form. It's a dark saying. It was the way he was describing exactly how he felt, man. Okay? It says a doleful lamentation, bitter, man. And say, we be utterly spoiled. Did we not read that in Lamentations, the 3rd chapter? Okay? Continuing. Verse 49, my eye trickleth down and ceaseth not without any intermission. And an intermission is like a break in between. There was no break. Jeremiah saw how his people were, how the state of Israel was, and he could not take that. He's like, man. And it's even so to this day. I'm sick and tired of seeing my people just through. I'm tired of seeing niggas killing niggas. I'm tired of seeing cops killing niggas. I'm tired of seeing our women just blatantly out of order. I'm tired of that shit. I'm tired. I'm tired of seeing evictions happen. Even though Jake deserved these things, but this is not life. This is not life. Verse 50, till the Lord look down and behold from heaven, my eye affecteth mine heart because of all the daughters of my city. Right. This is one who lamented and had a parable against Israel, man. Lamentations, the 3rd chapter, speaking about Jeremiah. And again, Jeremiah came after. Jeremiah was like during the time of 600 something BC, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can look that up real quick. But Bakashah, just bear with me. All right, because Jeremiah was after Micah and Isaiah. Jeremiah was during the time of 627, between 627 and 580 or 560 BC. So that was, those no, actually, yeah, it was after, because because he was during the time of Josiah, King Josiah, and Zedekiah and him. And Micah was before that. Man. Let's see something here. I was gonna go somewhere and just go. Oh, that's where I was gonna go. Isaiah 5. Nah, I don't need to go here. But pretty much, I'll just paraphrase Isaiah 5, man. Just for the sake of the lesson and, time-wise. But Isaiah 5 pretty much goes into how the Lord loved for Israel. But there's still wild grapes that appeared. He set everything in motion, and you can read Ezekiel, I want to say the 16th chapter, where it says he decked us, but still Israel will go off. Therefore, these things had to happen. And guess what? The Lord has decked us to this very moment. It may not be physical or tangible things, but he has decked us with the riches of this knowledge, and still Israel despises it. Still Israel waves the hand. Therefore, guess what? He's going to come down again with judgment. But this is going to be that last judgment, the final judgment. And then y'all gonna come back in your right minds in the kingdom, man. So Lord willing, this was edifying, and you can get some light and some history into the prophet Micah, because I love going into these books because these prophets were actually writing to somebody. We always read it it's very prophetic, but you gotta understand, you gotta put yourself in their shoes, just like Apostle Gabar always says, be a visionary. In order to be a visionary, you have to have some type of empathy, okay? Meaning you put yourself in that individual's shoes to see what actually was going on. Who was he talking to? All right? Who was he talking to? Yes, his words are prophetic, but he was actually talking to the Israelites at a certain point in time to get a point across, to let them know something's about to happen down the road. It's the same thing we're doing now. So, Lord willing, this was edifying. I'm going to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rachakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. Peace, love, salutation to the elect 144 first fruit. Brother Kasha Qual, until the next time, we'll say shalom.